like to call to order the Doylestown Borough Council meeting for Monday, April 21st. Everyone, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We have a few special presentations tonight. Madam Mayor and Larry, our team photographer there.
So we have a lot of recognitions, months, days to recognize this evening. So we have recognizing Ian for 26 years of service. 24 and a half.
But who's counting?
25.
Subtracting that. And then there's a proclamation for Earth Day, a proclamation for National Bicycle Month, which is May, and a proclamation for Mental Health and Wellness Month. So we're going to start with recognizing for 24 and a half years. I'm sure a lot of you have seen Ian walking through the street or have gotten a walking And this is in recognition and appreciation for your dedicated service as a parking enforcement officer for the Borough of Doylestown from 2000 to 2025. Thank you so much. Ian.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
I got to say, to anybody in this room, I would challenge you to give out parking tickets for a quarter of a century. Get the reaction Ian got on social media when we announced his retirement. It was universally positive. So many nice.
It was deleting them as fast as yeah, I saw no negatives.
I didn't either. I think it's a wonderful tribute to how you went about your business that you could do.
And the people of Doylestown, most of them were nice. They really are. It's a beautiful old town, well run. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then next is recognizing April 22nd as Earth Day. And Grant, do you want to come up? Dan also. And Dan? And just in case you missed it there, will be celebrated next weekend, next Saturday at Broad Common. Howard's Common, as you will see, is getting a lot of use these days, finally. So this year marks the 55th anniversary of the Earth Day movement. Wisconsin Senator Gaylord Nelson, an ardent conservationist, created Earth Day in the spring of 1970 to force the environment into the national agenda. Environmental activism in the 60s, Rachel Spring's Silent Spring, the Santa Barbara oil spill, all led Nelson to establish Earth Day, which is April 22nd. We are all caretakers of our planet, and we have a responsibility to preserve the Earth's beauty and resources for the benefit of its current and future inhabitants of all species. Whereas, let it be known that Doylestown Borough asks our businesses, institutions, and individuals to celebrate the Earth and commit to caring for the planet, its inhabitants, and its resources. Now, therefore, the Borough of Doylestown hereby proclaims April 22 as Earth Day and invites residents to do everything possible to reduce consumption of the Earth's resources, fight climate change, support green economy initiatives, encourage others to take action, and join the borough's Environmental Advisory Commission in celebrating Earth Day at Broad Common Park on Saturday, April 26th, where there will be kid-friendly crafts, yoga, live music, and lawn games. In witness thereof, this day I set my hand.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
On the teeth.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Oh, here. That's yours.
Awesome. Thank you.
And now for National Bicycle Month. And Liz, are you going to come down?
Sure, I'll come
And
down.
the bike advisory,
We have several bike advisory committee members. Come on up.
would you please come up as well?
Oh, no.
Oh, okay. And why don't you stand here so I can talk into this?
Talking to the
Direction there.
Come on down.
Fabulous. So,
Let's get you a step farther away.
established in,
Yeah, here's everyone.
okay,
Not too far.
now I'll start. Established in 1956, National Bicycle Month celebrates the bicycle as an economic, healthy, convenient, and environmentally sound form of transportation, and an excellent tool for recreation and enjoyment. Throughout the month of May, the residents of Doylestown will experience the joys of cycling at community events or simply by going for a ride. Our borough is a recognized bike-friendly town by the League of American Bicyclists. You won't have difficulty finding a parking space when you ride a bicycle into town. Creating a bicycle-friendly community improves citizens' health, well-being, quality of life, traffic safety, reduces pollution, congestion, and wear and tear on our streets and roads. Bicycling has also had a long-term effect on our culture. In 1896, Susan B. Anthony said, "Bicycling has done more to emancipate women than anything else in the world. The picture is free, untrammeled womanhood." Whereas Doylestown has a robust bike community, our own pump track, and our own biking witches, now therefore the Borough of Doylestown hereby proclaims May as National Bicycle Month and asks our residents to take advantage of biking as much as you can, stop by our dedicated bike workshop, and participate in Pedal Palooza on May 13th to help revamp our pump track. In witness thereof, I set my hand this day.
Thank you. I'll accept it, but on behalf of the Bike Advisory Committee, all of these are wonderful members. Some of them couldn't be here tonight, but we've all done a lot of work. The volunteers are key for the effort to keep improving and celebrating bikes in Doylestown, and we hope to see everyone on May 13th.
True believers.
Yeah. Practitioners and believers.
Good night, Liz.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everyone.
We'll put this in the file.
And then finally, Connor, May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And Connor sits on the Board of NOM. And apparently, other members of the Board of NOM are otherwise disposed at this point. Want to move forward? Oh, yeah. Is it me?
No, a microphone.
She doesn't bite.
I might start talking myself.
Well, first organized in 1949, Mental Health Awareness Month has never been more important than now to recognize the role of mental health plays in our overall well-being and the value of raising awareness and helping those in need. Because of misconceptions and stigma, people and families often suffer in silence and don't seek treatment for their condition. In the United States, 20% of adults and 17% of youth suffer from mental health disorders, around 75 million people, many of whom are housed by our criminal justice system. When both early and effective treatment, individuals who suffer with mental health conditions recover and lead full productive life. Research proves that with connectivity and professional help, people better protect their well-being. May is a time to recognize and support mental health organizations and individuals who provide care for those with mental health conditions, fostering a culture of understanding and compassion. Whereas every business, school, government agency, healthcare provider, organization, and citizen shares the burden of untreated mental health condition and benefits greatly from promoting wellness and awareness. Now, therefore, the Borough of Doylestown hereby proclaims May as Mental Health Awareness Month and asks our residents to visit the mental health resource tables at our Broad Common concerts on May 1st and 29th. In witness thereof, I set my hand this day.
Great. Thank you.
Next item on our agenda tonight is the approval of minutes from our March 17th, 2025 council meeting. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I'm sorry.
Second.
I'll second, but I have a correction.
Okay.
Under the water utility report, the third paragraph, it says, Mr. Lavrone said that the committee did meet and he wanted to report on one, and I think there should be the word item inserted there that came up and two items that came up later. So minor correction there. John?
I do see it.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from any members of council? Hearing none. Any questions or comments from any members of the public? Hearing none, I'd like to call a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on our agenda is the mayor's report. Madam Mayor, do you have anything for us?
I just have two quick things. I've already said enough already. So just two quick things. The Book Fest is from May 2nd until May 4th. And on May 3rd, the Book Fest will be held in Broad Common Park between 10 and 4. And I would be remiss if I did not mention that since our last council meeting on March 20th, there was a fire at the Doylestown Historical Society, and they're assessing everything, and ultimately they will need our help and our support. And that's the end of my report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Public Safety, Mr. Brown, what do you have for us?
Yes, Mr. President, we do have one action to take care of tonight. That would be the authorization to advertise ordinance creating a handicap parking space at 76 South Hamilton Street and also codifying traffic signals at certain intersections. The Public Safety Committee at their April meeting considered a request from the residents of 76 South Hamilton Street for a public on-street handicap parking spot along their property frontage. 76 South Hamilton Street has no off-street parking. The committee recommends creation of the space. The attached ordinance creates the requested parking space at 76 South Hamilton Street, and in addition, amends the Borough Code to codify traffic signals at the following intersections as an unrelated matter of administrative cleanup: North Main Street with Veterans Lane, North Broad Street with Doyle Street, North Broad Street with Veterans Lane, North Broad Street and Atkinson Drive, North Broad Street and Sandy Ridge Drive, North Broad Street and Route 611 northbound, and North Broad Street and Route 611 southbound. If council wishes to authorize the advertisement of the ordinance, it can do so by motion, and I so move.
Second.
We have a second by Liz, I think it was. Any questions or comments from any members of council? Hearing none. Any questions or comments from any members of the public? Hearing none, I'd like to call a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
I'd also like to mention that on the preparedness front, last month we had our preparedness seminar where we had 70 people in attendance, including a Boy Scout troop, and that was a great success. And then the following evening, As you'll report later in personnel, we had a great group of applicants for the preparedness board, and we're really looking forward to start working with them in the near future. Also attached to the minutes is the fire company report for the month. And I also wanted to make a note that one of the life members of the fire company, Brett Morris, was recently given a commendation by Warrington Township for life-saving action he made earlier this year. That's my report.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Public Works and Administration, Mr. Kinney isn't here, but Mr. Brown, can you cover for him?
We did not meet, so there is no report, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Bell, Community and Government Affairs.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have a few items for council. First is consideration of the Youth Leadership Recognition Program award recipients. So the Community and Governmental Affairs Committee has reviewed the nominations for the 2025 Doylestown Borough Youth Recognition Program at our April meeting. After the discussion, the committee is recommending that the recognition be awarded to Eliza Kremser. And before we have motions, I just want to mention that the recipient, if approved by council, will receive the award at the May council meeting. If council wishes to follow the recommendation of the committee, it can do so by motion, and I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Mr. Brown. Any questions or comments from any members of the council? Hearing none. Any questions or comments from any members of the public? Hearing none, I'd like to call a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. And we expect some turnout from your fan club in May. Next on the agenda is consideration of resolution number 2025-7 regarding Linden and Doyle Elementary. And it's actually a longish resolution. And rather than me reading it word for word, Ms. Hernandez, our social media coordinator, will be blasting this out through all of her magic channels if council approves this resolution. So look for it online. But I do want to mention two of the provisions acknowledge that the school board and the superintendent did announce that the Renovate the Elementary Schools project was going to be put on hold. However, the resolution also acknowledges that while this is good and that it gives more time for the residents to do research, formulate their opinions, engage with the board, it also is just a pause. And so the goal of this resolution is to reinforce council's alignment with the community regarding keeping our community schools open and thriving. If I had just read it word for word, it might have come out shorter, so apologies. But you have the resolution in your packet, and if council wishes to follow the recommendations of the committee, it can do so by motion, and I so move.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Amy. Any questions or comments from any members of council? Hearing none. Any questions or comments from any members of the public? Hearing none, I'd like to call a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
The third item is not for council action, but I'm really looking forward to it because this is super cool and represents a lot of work that the staff has done. And it's a preview of MapMe resource, and I'll turn it over to Ms. Hernandez.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. This was in our 2025 budget, so while no action is needed, we thought it would be nice to give you a little preview here tonight. And I want to thank Erica Feldman, our receptionist. She's put a lot of work into this as well. So a common theme that we heard in our comprehensive planning workshops was the need for a map. And after quite some time of research, this is the result. So this is an interactive map. You can access it from your computer. You don't need an app for it. You can also, there's a mobile version that's accessible as well. So we plan to put QR codes in the shops downtown, and we'll blast it through our social channels. I know it looks a little overwhelming at first here, but it breaks down into categories on the side. I'm going to skip right to shopping because I know our downtown business community is really excited about this, and they're very grateful. They've been asking for something like this for a while. So it's in alphabetical order here. You can see when I click this top one, Allura Gifts and Home Decor, it gives you photo previews, and you can click right to her map or her address here as well. We did have the merchants submit their own descriptions here and links to their socials, and I can click out to more info. That'll bring you directly to Alora's website. Some chose to link to their Instagrams or Facebook as well if they're more active there. It's also very useful for our parking department. So I'll scroll right down here to parking. You can see when I click 15-minute parking, it brings up all of the locations around town. Erica Feldman did go to Google Maps, so there's a little preview here. You can see exactly where you'll be parking. And when you zoom out, these red lines are the 3-hour meters, and then we have our yellow banded 10-hour meters as well. I'll click back here to our parks. You can link right out from Burpee Park to rent the pavilion. So that takes you directly to our Parks and Rec portal. We also added our events here. So as the mayor had mentioned, Bucks County Book Fest, we linked directly out to them as well. We'll be using this in the future for any road closures. We can add our bicycle parking. So it's very versatile, and I'm very excited to share it with you all tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hernandez. Wow, that is really cool and really useful. And I guarantee that members of council are still going to call staff and say, when is the book fair? And now you can say, just look at your
I have
app.
somewhere to send them, yes.
Thank you. Thank you. It's really great to see that. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. That was quite impressive. Zoning and planning, Ms. Jarrett, you have anything for us?
Yes, we do. This month at the Borough of Doylestown Planning and Zoning Department, we first had the consideration of ordinance 2025-2, eliminating on-street valet parking zones and licensing. Attached, please find the above referenced valet parking ordinance, eliminating the designated valet parking stand locations on public streets. The 3 valet zones located along State Street were designated in 2016, and a corresponding license requirement for valet operators was established. Use of these loading areas for valet stands has been found to interfere with the use of the areas for loading and unloading. The draft ordinance eliminates the designated on-street valet stand zones and related licensing. As a result, the valet service operations would only be permitted to and from private property and only if certain conditions are met. The Zoning and Planning Committee recommends adoption of Ordinance 2025-2, and if council is in agreement with the recommendation, it may do so by motion, and I so move.
Second.
We have a second by Amy, I believe. Any questions or comments from any members of council? Hearing none. Any questions or comments from any members of the public? Hearing none, I'd like to call a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Next on the agenda, we have the land development waiver. I'll toss that over to Ms. Highland to give a rundown for everyone. Ms. Highland?
Absolutely. Included in your packet is an application for land development waiver from the Central Bucks School District. The proposal is to add 2 additions to the building, the first being along the McFarland Lane frontage, the other being within an existing courtyard. This plan was reviewed by the Planning Commission as well as the Borough Shade Tree Commission, various professionals, and it was also reviewed by the Zoning and Planning Committee. Included in your packet is a memo summarizing the motion that the Zoning and Planning Committee made.
I'm sorry to throw you under the bus there, Ms. Highland. She wasn't. Apologies, everyone, but, you know. So I'll read that memo real quickly that you drafted. Thank you, Ms. Highland. So we have the land development waiver for Central Bucks High School West at 375 West Court Street. It is tax parcel number 08003-002 and 08004-008, for anyone curious. Central Bucks School District is proposing a grade realignment to allow for full-day kindergarten, shifting to sixth grade to middle school and shifting 9th grade to the high school. The district proposes the 2 building additions to CB West to address the need for the additional classrooms. One addition will be along McFarland Lane, the McFarland Lane frontage, and the other will be an existing courtyard. And McFarland Lane runs parallel to Court Street behind the school, basically. The Planning Commission and Zoning Planning Committee are recommending approval of the application conditional on the following. 1, that the applicant resolve all outstanding issues in the following review letters. A, March 13th, 2025 from Gilmore and Associates. B, March 12th, 2025 from CKS Engineers. C, February 4th, 2025 from Keystone Municipal Services. D, March 20th, 2025 Shade Tree Commission summary with trees being black gum and redbud. E, March 5th, 2025 from the Bucks County Planning Commission. And F, March 10th, 2025 from the Bucks County Conservation District. 2, that McFarland Lane has been vacated and that all appropriate utility, access, and driveway easements be provided. Easement agreements shall be to the satisfaction of staff, the solicitor, and the engineer. 3, that the condition of Doylestown Borough's September 19th, 1994 land development approval regarding traffic modified to allow for changes to circulation patterns, turn restrictions, pedestrian protection, and parking. The new configuration shall be generally consistent with the exhibits dated 3/25/2025, subject to results of a more detailed study. 4, that the district evaluate whether any portion of McFarland should be limited to one lane. 5, that the district authorize the borough and Central Bucks Regional Police Department to enforce on-site parking, stop signs, travel direction, and turn restrictions. 6, that in all respects, the applicant comply with all provisions to the statutes, laws, regulations, rules, codes, and ordinances of the United States, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, Doylestown Borough, and any other municipal entity having jurisdiction. 7, that the applicant enter into the usual land development waiver agreement in form satisfactory to the borough solicitor, that the applicant enter into an escrow agreement for any required water system and roadway improvements. If council agrees that it may grant the land development waiver approval by carrying a motion to do so, and I so move.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second, I think that was Amy. Any questions or comments from any members of council? Hearing none. Any questions or comments from any members of the public? Hearing none, I'd like to call a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And next, we have an authorization to advertise ordinance vacating McFarland Lane, obviously related to what we just approved. Attached, please find the above referenced draft ordinance vacating McFarland Lane. Along with its recent CB West Building Addition proposal, the school district petitioned the borough to vacate McFarland Lane. If passed, the area within the street would revert to the underlying property owners, the Central Bucks School District and Doylestown Borough, and would be protected by a utility driveway easement. This street has been maintained by the school district, so the vacation would memorialize the operations that have already been in place for several decades. The Zoning and Planning Committee recommends authorizing advertisement of the ordinance, and if council is in agreement with the recommendation, it may do so by motion, and I so move.
Second.
We have a second by Liz, was it? Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments from any members of council? Hearing none. Any questions or comments from any members of the public? Hearing none, I'd like to call a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Oh, sure. And we do have representatives of the school board here if anyone has any additional questions. Next up, we have the zoning hearing board report.
I believe there's an executive session on the agenda.
I'm sorry, in between those. Sorry, I'm looking at my list of documents, the agenda at this point. So I believe we will leave for executive session relating to an executive session that was had at the Zoning and Planning Committee, and obviously we'll be returning after that.
Yeah, and I can chime in here just for the public. The first item that we're discussing is legal strategy related to zoning litigation in the Court of Common Pleas pertaining to 24 North Main Street. And then the other item is just legal strategy with regard to the solicitor participating in hearings before the zoning hearing board.
We'll be back shortly.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.
We are back after our executive session. It's 8:01 p.m.
On to zoning hearing board report.
Supposed to be fewer people here now, weird. Next up, we have our zoning hearing board report. Ms. Highland. Hi. Would you mind giving us a rundown of what we need to know for the zoning hearing board?
Thank you, Ms. Jarrett. The zoning hearing board met last week, last Thursday. There were 2 applications on the agenda. The application for 39 East Ashland was continued, and that will be on the agenda for the May zoning hearing board meeting. The second application is for 154 West Oakland Avenue. That is a dimensional variance request for the yard setback to allow the swimming pool and a pool house to be located within the required yards. Those variances were granted by the zoning hearing board. And I'll defer to the borough solicitor for 39 East Ashland.
Yeah, so while we met, we discussed making a motion to send the solicitor to participate in the zoning hearing board application of 39 East Ashland Street to the extent deemed necessary by the Zoning and Planning Commission at its next meeting.
Thank you very much.
Do we need to?
need a motion.
We need I'll make that motion. Do we have a second?
Yeah.
Second.
Second from Dennis, I think it was, yes. Any questions or comments from any members of council? Any questions or comments from any members of the public? Hearing none? Motion carries.
Aye.
I'm sorry. All in favor? I'm sorry.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
There we
Thank you.
go. Thank you.
Head catching up with you.
Next, we have the certificate of appropriateness from HARB. At its regular monthly meeting, the Borough of Doylestown's Historic and Architectural Review Board, HARB, recommended the following. A sign application for 22 North Main Street. The HARB recommended that the application for a certificate of appropriateness be accepted as presented. Continued building applications were 65 Hillside Avenue. HARB recommended that the application for a certificate of appropriateness be accepted as represented and submitted. The building applications, we have 74 East State Street for a renovation. The HARB recommended that the application for a certificate of appropriateness be accepted as presented and submitted with the following clarifications. Duration molding and trim to be used. The new HC casement windows will feature a horizontal Muntin grid panel overlay that will be replicated. The skirt of the second floor bay has cedar siding to match the existing siding, copper or zinc above bays and roof of porch. Improvements shall be in accordance with the plan amendments on sheet 7 from the submission. Next is 210 West Court Street for solar panels. The HARB recommended that the application for a certificate of appropriateness be accepted as presented, and the amendment that the conduits be painted the same color as the siding from which they will be descending. Finally, we have 68 South Clinton Street for windows. The HARB recommended that the application for a certificate of appropriateness be accepted as submitted and presented. The Zoning and Planning Committee recommends that council approve the applications in accordance with HARB's recommendation. If the council is in agreement, it can do so by motion, and I so move.
We have a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Brown. Any questions or comments from any members of council? Hearing none. Any questions or comments from any members of the public? Hearing none, I'd like to call a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Additionally, we have the Zoning and Planning Code Enforcement and Building Inspection reports, which are in the packet, as well as the the Zoning Hearing Board and HARB recommendations, et cetera. That concludes my report.
Thank you very much. Environment and Rec, Ms. Wyckoff, what do you have for us? Anything?
Thank you. We didn't meet this month, so I have no report.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Lavrone, Water Utility, anything for us tonight?
Well, first I'd like to recognize and thank our Chief Water Operator, Jerry Matoso, for being here again this month in case we have any questions on some water issues that we're going to come up with here. We did not meet in April. The committee did not meet in April. But I also wanted to mention that we still have the mandatory water conservation restrictions in place. So, Jeremy, did you have anything you wanted to comment on that? Are we slowly catching up, or how do we? Last month you reported it was very slow.
There's been some increases, but I have no new information I want to put out tonight.
So we'll stick with those restrictions. And let's see, I think that's it. There's two more water-related items, one under finance, which Ms. Popkin will handle, and one under new business, which the president will handle, and that's the end of my report.
Thank you, Mr. Larone. Amy? What do you have for us?
Thank you, Mr. President. We have 3 items tonight. The first item is consideration of resolution number 2025-6. This is allowing for the reimbursement of PFAS water treatment project expenditures. Attached, you will find the resolution 2025-6, which will allow for the reimbursement of any expenditures associated with the PFAS water treatment project from Penvest, guaranteed revenue note proceeds. Once adopted, this resolution will allow for current and near future expenditures to be reimbursed once the note has settled. This would include any expenditure within 60 days prior to the adoption of this resolution, including engineering and any planning costs. The Finance and Pension Committee reviewed this item at their April 10th, 2025 meeting, and we are recommending that the council adopt Resolution 2025-6. If council agrees with this recommendation, it can do so by motion, and I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Mr. Larone. Any questions or comments from any members of council?
I would just note, unless I'm incorrect, that this resolution is -8, not -6. So I think the new one is 8.
No,
Or am I wrong?
you're looking at the wrong one.
Okay.
Yeah, that's coming later.
Oh,
8's
gotcha.
coming later.
Thank you. Sorry.
Yes, that is, you're right, it's coming later.
Any other questions or comments from any members of council? Hearing none. Any questions or comments from the members of the public? Hearing none, I'd like to call a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. The second item is the authorization to advertise ordinance increasing the indebtedness of the Borough of Doylestown. Attached, please find the above reference ordinance increasing the indebtedness of the Borough of Doylestown for the purpose of financing a portion of the PFAS water treatment project through approved funding by the Pennsylvania Infrastructure Investment Authority, which is Penvest, in the amount of $1,043,503. The debt shall be incurred as non-electoral debt and shall be evidenced by one guaranteed revenue note in fully registered form, bearing an interest rate of 1.743% during the interest-only period and for the first 5 years of principal amortization, and then 2.179% for the remainder of the 240-month term. The Finance and Pension Committee reviewed the draft ordinance at their April 10th, 2025 meeting, and we are recommending council authorize the advertisement. If council agrees with this recommendation, it may do so by motion, and I so move.
Second.
We have a second by Jen Jarrett. Any questions or comments from any members of council?
Yeah, I have a question. So this indebtedness would be the non-forgiven portion of the overall project cost?
That's correct.
Yes.
Okay, and what's the length of the period? There's a point where we jump 50 basis points after the interest-only period in the first 5 years. How long is that total? Do you know what I mean?
The total loan is 20 years. So
So after the first 5, there's 15.
15.
Oh, so interest-only period and the first 5 years? Is just all the same first 5 years? Okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions or comments from any members of council? Hearing none. Any questions or comments from any members of the public? Hearing none, I'd like to call a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. And then the last item for finance is the finance report, and I'll turn that over to Ms. Brinker.
Thank you, Ms. Popkin. Everyone was provided with a copy of the finance report showing payables and payroll. The total for all funds is $1,291,637.16.
And I'll make a motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Jarrett. Thank you. Any questions or comments from any members of council? Hearing none. Any questions or comments from any members of the public? Hearing none, I'd like to call a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, personnel. There's one item on the agenda dealing with appointments to volunteer boards and authorization to draft and advertise an ordinance increasing the number of the Emergency Preparedness and Community Board members. On March 25th, 2025, the Personnel Committee met to interview 9 candidates to fill positions on the newly created Emergency Preparedness and Community Board, and 3 candidates to fill various student board members and junior councilperson positions. Borough Ordinance Number 2025-1 creating the board indicates there are to be 5 members, each member to serve for a term of 3 years, and the initial members' terms are to be staggered in such a manner so that at least one new member's term expires annually. Of the candidates interviewed, the committee is recommending the following appointments. Beth Lander for a 1-year term from April of 2025 through 12 of 2025. James Babinetz for a 2-year term from 4 of 2025 to 12 of 2026. Amy Kremser for a 3-year term from 4 of 2025 to December of 2027. Philip Masters for a 3-year term from 4 of 2025 to 12 of 2028. And Joshua Brown in a 3-year term from 4 of 2025 to 12 of 2029. Student.
If I could jump in, those should all say 2027. They're 3-year terms,
Those wrong on the list, too.
not 2028, 2029.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Mr. Matt,
Yeah, the last 3 you're talking about?
It's a typo. It's not
Yeah.
your fault. But
Okay.
Mr. Masters' term will end in 2027, and Mr. Brown's term will end in 2027, just to clarify.
Okay. And for student members, Abigail O'Mara, we're recommending her for a Human Relations Commission. The term is 5 of 2025 to 4 of 2026. James Shanley on the Fanny Chapman Pool Board as a reappointment for 5/25 to 4 of 2026. And Thomas O'Reilly as our junior council person for next year from September of 2025 through May of 2026. In addition to the above appointments, the Personnel Committee is also recommending that Council authorize the drafting and advertising of an ordinance increasing the number of the Emergency Preparedness and Communications Board from 5 members to 7 members. If Council wishes to follow the Personnel Committee's recommendation as stated above, it may do so by motion, and I so move.
Second.
We have a second by Mr. Brown. Any questions or comments from any members of Council?
I just wanted to say, Mr. President, that it was a great group that we had to choose from, and I'm really excited about where the board's going to go from here.
Yeah, we've certainly had a lot of interest in the community about this thing. That's a very good point. Any other questions or comments from the council?
Yeah, Mr. President, if council approves the expansion of the board, that then creates 2 vacancies. Will those be filled in the usual manner with advertising and so on?
I believe based on the interviews we had, we have identified 2 additional people that would be, we could certainly re-interview them, but I think that was the impetus behind why we're looking to expand the number. We had some extremely qualified candidates. We had a hard time choosing 5, and we kind of, that's what drove us to want to get to change the ordinance to allow for 7.
At this point, there's not an intent to conduct more interviews, simply to appoint 2 people who they did not have room for. So once the ordinance passes, there'll be a recommendation from personnel that I believe they've already made to appoint these 2 other folks as the, one will need a 1-year term and one will need a 2-year term. I don't know if that's been determined yet.
So we're voting tonight to expand to 2 members that will automatically be placed on the board without us knowing who they are?
No, we're voting tonight just to allow for 7 members on the board.
What I'm saying is that the Personnel Committee, my understanding, has 2 people to recommend to the full council to fill those spaces once they are created. So the Personnel Committee is not intending at this point to re-advertise or to interview again. The full council will obviously have the opportunity to vote on that recommendation from the Personnel Committee.
Okay, so are we voting to accept these 5 members?
That's correct.
And then separately voting on whether to expand the number via the ordinance?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
I'd also like to chime in with, that Larry and Scott Fleischer started this, with a handful of people coming to the first couple of sessions. And as Larry mentioned earlier, we had 70 people at the most recent one. We had a turnout of really extraordinary individuals that we were able to interview for the board that is being created. And there's been interest from the public library on hosting similar events like Larry and Scott have put together, and just we're really fortunate as a community, as a council, to have had them put their efforts into this. So thank you.
Thank you.
And just to clarify that what Mr. Bell said, and that is the way it is written here, is you'll need 2 motions here. A motion to make the appointments that are recommended by the Personnel Committee. I don't know if Mr. O'Brien has made that motion yet. And then there would be a second motion to authorize the advertisement of an ordinance expanding the Emergency Preparedness and Communications Board from 5 to 7. So we need 2 motions at this point.
I'll make the motion to recommend the candidates we've identified.
I second that.
Okay, is that done?
Yeah.
I thought we did the rec.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
We did it for the full list, not individually.
It should be 2 motions.
Should be 2 motions. The first motion I'll make will be to recommend to full council that we appoint these people to the positions identified in this memo.
And I'll second that.
And second by Mr. Brown. Any other questions or comments regarding that motion? Hearing none, any questions or comments from the members of the public? Hearing none, I'd like to call a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The second motion is to
Authorize
the drafting and advertising of an ordinance increasing the number of the Emergency Preparedness and Communications Board from 5 members to 7 members. I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Second again by Mr. Brown. Any questions or comments from any members of council? Hearing none. Any questions or comments from any members of the public? Hearing none, I'd like to call a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And what's next? Professionals report. Mr. Doherty, do you have anything for us tonight?
Thank you. I have nothing to report tonight.
Andrew, do you have anything for us tonight?
No report this evening.
Chief, do you have anything for us tonight?
No report this evening.
Thank you. I don't have a president's report tonight. Do we have any items of old business? Hearing none. We have one item of new business. It is a consideration of a resolution number 2025-8 authorizing PA Small Water and Sewer Program grant application for the 2025 water main replacement project.
Just to follow up on this, we regret not having run this through the Water Committee this month. The deadline kind of caught us off guard. We do obviously want to submit, and to do so requires us to, council to pass this resolution tonight. The application is through the PA Small Water and Sewer Program, which we've participated in before, and the recommendation is for a specific water main replacement on North Main Street between Doyle and Spruce at a cost of estimated cost of $218,000. There is, I believe, a 15% match for this that we would be obligated for should we be successful. If anybody has any questions about why in particular this section of Maine and what that will accomplish for us, I'd defer to Jeremy. But again, we apologize for not running this through a committee so there could be a more extensive discussion. Does anybody have any questions about the project itself?
I don't have any questions. I understand the project from talking to a few people, so as the chairman of the Water Utility Committee, I'm certainly in favor of getting this done.
Do we need a motion for this?
You do, you need a motion to adopt Resolution
I'll make
2025-8.
that motion.
Should we read this into the record, or is it sufficient?
It's fine. It can be, it will be in the record. I believe Mr. Lavrone has made the motion.
We have a second?
Second.
Yeah, by Mr. O'Hanlon. Any questions or comments from any members of council? Hearing none. Any questions or comments from any members of the public? Hearing none, I'd call a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I believe that. Open public comment. Do we have anybody?
Nobody signed up.
Nobody signed up, so. Do not have any executive session, so I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Good night.